think rugged. When you think tough. When you think big. Think of the best transportation solutions mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer trucks. Redefining the road.
It's time for the Kurtiss Riggs Show. The head coach of the 9-time champion Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute. Together, they are the official health care and complete training team of the Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Riggs Show on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Here's your host of the Kurtiss Riggs Show, the voice of the Storm, the Silver Fox, Rich Rothstein.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. I'm Rich Rothstein, and coming up on the show today, we're going to be talking to the head coach, Kurtiss Riggs. We're going to be talking about the games around the IFL, and there was a very exciting and a very interesting upset this past weekend in the IFL. We're going to be talking to Coach Riggs about that. And then also we're going to be talking to him about the win the Storm had last Saturday night, 53-30 over the Iowa Barnstormers. And then also on the show today, we'll be talking to a couple of the Storm players, a new wide receiver with the Sioux Falls Storm, Marcus Bierham, and also former player and now coach with the Sioux Falls Storm, Corey Johnson. And we'll be talking about them. And then after those two interviews, and also when we go off the air, we'll be giving away 4 free tickets to the next home game. And that's not going to be for a while because of the playoffs and the buys that the Sioux Falls Storm have. But we're going to give away 4 free tickets. That game's going to be Saturday, July 16th. And the Storm will be hosting the United Conference Championship game. And those free tickets, courtesy of Wingstop. Then also we're going to have talk to Coach Riggs about a scouting report about the game coming up this Saturday. The Sioux Falls Storm going to be traveling out to Spokane, Washington to take on the Empire. And Coach Riggs will have a scouting report on that. And you can hear that broadcast on our sister station, Keller News Talk, AM 1320 and FM 107.9. One thing that came out this week, they had the introduction and the announcement of the finalists for the IFL Hall of Fame. And fans can go to the IFL site and actually contribute their vote as far as the Hall of Fame finalists are concerned. One man, very special, that I really hope that he gets into the Hall of Fame, Mark Blackburn with the Sioux Falls Storm, had over 700 tackles for the Sioux Falls Storm, counting the playoffs. We really hope that Mark can get to the Hall of Fame and go to the IFL website and you can cast your vote and maybe help get him into the Hall of Fame. You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, and this is brought to you by Orthopedic Institute and Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, and we're always pleased to have them as our sponsors of the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good, Rich. How are you?
Boy, I tell you what's nice weather outside. I'm sure that you had your day all laid out so you could be outside working and playing golf and nothing else going on this week in your life.
Yeah, at one point my phone started buzzing because there was flood warnings, and I thought, oh my gosh, is it raining outside? And I had no idea that a storm was going by, but it's nice to be able to get out later in the day. It seems to be the best time, and now I'll walk right into another building for practice.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, I want to talk to you in our first segment about the article that you put into the Argus Leader today. How often do you put these in, monthly or 6 weeks, or what is the schedule on these articles that you do for the Argus Leader?
Now this time of the year, it's usually about once a month, once every 3.5 weeks or so, somewhere in there. And some of it's just based on timing. This one a little more revolving around Father's Day and Dad's coaching. So I wanted to try to get this one out based on the time more so than any time in between.
Yeah, you titled it, "It Takes a Special Dad to Coach Kids." I want you to talk about the example that you had put into that article and tell us about the example and why it was kind of very interesting to you and what it really said about the dad.
Well, there's so many examples that I see all the time of dads coaching, or parents, even moms too, coaching their kids and the reasons why they're doing it. And the one that I reflected on it in the blog was a junior football team, South Dakota junior football team, which has all volunteer coaches. And I had a few athletes from the academy on this team, so I went to go watch, and it's so hard to really do justice in the blog of what I was really seeing, because from an observer from afar, I was like, oh my goodness, this coach is enthusiastic, but he's really not sure about the X's and O's. And, I've come to 2 practices and they play here soon, and I haven't seen him do any special teams. And, it's just, it could be a long season for him. And it was the first game. I think they literally maybe got 1 yard on offense. And he was positive the entire time, enthusiastic the entire time. But then he also approached me afterwards about, would you be willing to help? And that's, I really asked him, I was like, well, why are you coaching? Why are you doing this? Because it's pretty evident that you're not really familiar with the game. And because I wouldn't go out and coach my daughter's dance. There's no way I would do. And he looked me dead in the eye, and he was like, I get off work, or I go to work at 3 a.m. I get off work at about 6 o'clock, and it gives me an outlet where I can spend time with my son and see him in an environment where he's having fun with his friends, and I can be a part of that. And that's where I was like, you know what, you're a winner. I mean, no matter what happens. And I was like, you bet, I'd love to help you. And he was great. I don't know if he's still coaching. But then I tried to talk about some of the negatives without really dwelling on them. Why some parents coach, they coach to make sure their kids get all the playing time, to make sure their kid is carrying the ball or is the star, or to live vicariously through their child. And, those are the situations we want to avoid. We want to be in it for the right reasons, and we want to make sure that we're modeling. We're modeling for them how to handle conflict, controversy, wins and losses, and dealing with teammates, and all of these things.
You talk in the article about having fun. That's the bottom line, as far as letting these kids get out, have an experience playing a sport, an organized sport, with other teams and other teammates and things like that. But what do they consider having fun? Is that different than what the parents and coaches consider as having fun?
Well, yes and no. Yes, in the early ages, the kids don't care about wins and losses. The kids just care about playing. That's all they wish you could put more time on the clock, even if they're down by 30 points. And then they care about what the snack is after the game. But then it changes. You see the change. You see how it evolves, and usually it's because of when they walk off the field, usually the first people they walk to are their parents. And if the parents are showing major disappointment or anger towards, losses, then the kids eventually they're gonna follow that same modeling, and they're gonna react the same way. Now, as kids get older, they become more competitive, and they don't enjoy losing. They don't want to lose. They want to win. But how do they deal with it? How do they handle it? And it's usually, you see how the parent handles it is usually how the child's going to handle it too.
One of the things the reason that I talk about these things, because you put it on, a great medium like the Argus Leader, and you're educating the public with this, but I also wanted to bring it out in the show because, the Sioux Falls Storm, that's a professional football team. That's an entirely different entity. These people the players are looking at career opportunities. They're looking at career advancements. They're looking at things entirely different than the youth sports environment. And the entire atmosphere, the whole thing about it is entirely different. But it's also where these kids that are playing for the Storm right now at one time did play youth sports. And they enjoyed it enough to continue it on into high school, into college, and now into the professional ranks. And I think it's important that the kids have a great opportunity to learn, but to enjoy it, and then to be able to excel in it or to not, and be able to go whatever direction that they want to. So that's why I bring it out in our conversations with the Storm head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, and because I think it's so very important for that. For the little kids, for the littlest kids, was there ever any thought about not keeping score?
For the littlest kids?
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's I think it becomes our focus, and it takes away from every other aspect. But I think I don't think that's a battle we'll win. I think there's going to be score for the majority of events. Some organizations at certain age levels don't allow score, which is great, and then they bring it along, which is a good thing too. But I think you hit it right on the head with the Storm. The Storm guys, it's so much different how I would coach a Storm guy compared to the youth at the academy or the high school kids or any of those. And these are employees, and these guys want to get to the NFL. That's their goal, and we want to maximize that. And you're right, they've made a choice, and that's the thing that should be the same, though. These kids should have a choice too, and these guys all talk about the other sports that they play, and that's what's scary nowadays. Is we're getting to where kids are becoming specialized at very young ages and not having a choice of playing baseball or basketball or football or soccer or what have you. And you just hope they have options, and then when they figure out what they want to do, they have that choice to continue on with what they enjoy.
Well, Coach, great stuff. Go to the Argus Leader, folks. The Argus Leader in today's paper, the article by Kurtiss Riggs. And you can also go to his website, and that's riggsfootball.com. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct, Rich.
Yeah, go to there, and there's articles there that you can go back, and a lot of great stuff about parenting and about coaching, about kids, about having fun. All of those different things. Check it all out because it's all really good stuff. And in the meantime, I'm still trying to get this mental image out of my head about you keep teaching and coaching dance. I would just love to watch that.
Rich, it's easy for me to talk about these things as I'm an observer, though, because I chose not to coach Peyton or Afton. I chose, I wanted to just sit back and watch and just be an observer from afar. I didn't want parents coming up to me saying, hey, is the coach running the right play here? I didn't want my son to feel like I was trying to coach him. I mean, I sit away from everyone, just watch and enjoy watching. And so I never really accepted that challenge. I feel like parents that coach their kids, they're doing something that a lot of us shy away from. And hopefully they're doing it for the right reason, but it's a huge challenge to do that, and I think it causes instant conflict sometimes with parent and child, and you have to overcome that too. So I definitely tip my hat to those parents that do go out there and coach and help out the youth.
Very good, Coach. When we come back, you and I are going to be talking about the IFL. There was a very interesting upset in the course of this past weekend, but you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute, the official health Storm sports medicine providers, and you're listening to it right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
If you haven't been to Eastway,
you're not just disseminating facts. You're not just telling people what happened, but you're having to deal with the people it happened to.
We want to capture the effect. Why is it so important? Why is this happening?
Everything has an effect and everything has an impact. It's more than just providing headlines. It's the idea of this has happened and this is why you should care.
It's the driver of how we do news, because we want people to know that we care.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSM. Back to your host, Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by our great friends over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, the best bread in town. Check it out. Tim will help you with whatever needs you have. That's Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Interesting week around the IFL. The first couple ball games, very low scoring. Spokane defeated Nebraska 25-23. Green Bay defeated Tri-Cities 23-20. Those are both on Friday night, but very low scoring ball games, both of them, weren't they?
They are. And for all those teams. I mean, Green Bay has been an explosive team at times. Spokane's been very explosive, but the loss of Kennedy, you could see them still feeling, how are we going to do this without him? And Carl Sims became really a major focal point and looked very good against Nebraska. Nebraska still searching for the right quarterback. Winkett threw 3 picks and one really at a critical time in the game for Nebraska. And then Nebraska had they had a defensive touchdown that got called back. And as I watched it as just a innocent observer, as I'm watching the game, I thought, boy, that was a really questionable call on the one that Nebraska lost their touchdown on. But it was a battle, though, very physical game. And Spokane found a way to win, just like we've had to at times this year. Spokane did the same thing.
We'll be talking about the Spokane Empire in the final segment with Coach Riggs today. They are the opponent for the Sioux Falls Storm coming up on Saturday, 9:05 kickoff, because we're going to be out in Washington, and you can hear the broadcast on our sister station, Kello News Talk, AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Another game that went on that was a low-scoring ball game. Cedar Rapids held on to defeat the Billings Wolves 28-20.
I haven't watched that game, but I know Chris called me yesterday and said that they had quite a few chances. Very tough to score against Cedar's defense as you get pushed. Those end zones are tiny, and Jeremiah Price actually picked a pass off and ran it back 45 yards for a touchdown.
Oh, my.
And then Chris said they missed numerous makeable field goals, and he felt like his defense was playing very well, and they did a good job of confusing Favre, and it was really another slugfest, which I don't know if there's ever been a time in indoor football where 3 of the games were so low scoring like this, no one even getting to the 30-point mark.
Yeah, no total of 50 points scored in those 3 ball games. But the game that I thought was very interesting was Colorado came up with the upset over Wichita Falls, 61-56. McCollum is back with Wichita Falls, and the Colorado Crush, who we've always said is a much better team than their record, proved it down in Wichita Falls, defeating them again by 61-56.
And they did it without Washington, the receiver.
Really?
They did it without the starting tailback, and they got down early, and then they just kept plugging away. And then the defense, the second half, really started to get pressure on McCollum, and they brought in a new linebacker that is a downhill force. I mean, this kid can, when he hits you, everyone in the building would feel it. And so he made a few plays for him. The quarterback did a nice job, and Kaiser had a really good game. And their defense was able to get a defensive touchdown and do some very good things for him. And Coach O'Neill said, he goes, I think we're going to get him. I think we'll go down there and get him this time. And he was right.
Coming up this week, games, Wichita Falls will be at Iowa. Nebraska is going to be at Colorado. Tri-Cities is going to be going over to Billings. And again, the Sioux Falls Storm going to be heading out to Spokane, Washington. The way the standings are right now in the United Conference, Sioux Falls Storm 14-1, followed by Cedar Rapids 11-4, Wichita Falls 9-5. That win, if they could have picked up that win, would have made a huge difference as far as a possibility of hosting the first round of the playoffs. Now they are 2 games behind Cedar Rapids and we'll see how that all plays out. Green Bay 5-10, and Iowa's 4-10. Then in the Intense Conference, Spokane 12-2, followed by Billings 6-8, and Nebraska 5-9. Rounding things out, Tri-Cities 3-11, and Colorado 3-12. When we come back, Coach, we'll be talking about the win this past weekend as the Sioux Falls Storm defeated the Iowa Barnstormers 53-30. And you're listening to this segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, longtime Storm sponsor and the best bread in town. We'll be back right after this.
At Midwest Family Care.
Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full experience entertainment center. Like us on Facebook and visit our website to learn more about the full experience at Eastway Bowl.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roski.
And the game recap on the Kurtiss Riggs Show is brought to you by the Storm Away Game Viewing Party. Host Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge. And the next viewing party is this Saturday as the Storm travel out to Spokane, Washington to take on the Empire. And you can hear it on Kello News Talk, AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Kickoff is at 9:05. We'll have the pregame show starting at 8:45. That is on Saturday evening. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, you got a win at home against the Iowa Barnstormers by a score of 53-30. You were down by 14 or down by 7 in that first half, but then you outscored Iowa 27-7 in the second half, and that second half was a very dominating performance by your ball club.
Yeah, I thought we went in and made some adjustments and came out and executed those very well and really played a pretty good half of football that second half.
Let's go right into the highlights. Here's our first one.
Down in 10, Lorenzo Brown back to pass. Fires upfield all by himself. Tatum at the 15 to the 10 right side onto the goal line. Dives into the end zone. Yes, touchdown! Mike Tatum for the Sioux Falls Storm.
Mike Tatum had another catch later on. The ball game was shaken up on that, was helped off the field, but he came back on the field and contributed more later on in the contest. Tell us about how Mike Tatum's injury played out.
Well, it looked like it was season-ending when he was on the field, but as he was able to get off the field, get assessed, kind of get his senses back on, and walk on it a little bit, he realized it wasn't as bad as he portrayed or thought. And he did get a high ankle sprain, though, and he came back in and finished the game with it and played pretty effectively through the second half.
Here's our next highlight.
It's a loss of 5. Second down and 15 yards to go. The ball is resting back at the Sioux Falls Storm 16-yard line. Lorenzo Brown puts 2 in motion, 1 through the box. He fakes the handoff. Rolling left, fires down, end zone there. Caught! Leaping catch, touchdown, Beerham! Rammed against the boards, but he hangs on. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm. Holy help me, Anna. What a catch by Marcus Beerham.
And Marcus Beerham will be on the Kurtiss Riggs Show today. Coach, tell us about Marcus. He's got 3 touchdowns in 3 ball games that he's played for the Sioux Falls Storm.
Well, he's done a great job. I mean, he's done a very good job of taking advantage of the opportunity that's been given to him. As BJ went down and we moved Corey to running back, Marcus has stepped in and really played very well and in many ways has not looked like a rookie playing in the indoor game.
I don't think people realize just how difficult it is for these players that join the Sioux Falls Storm or join any team partway through the season and then try to pick up the nomenclature, picking up the routes, picking up the responsibilities, how difficult that is to get up to speed with the rest of the players.
Well, and I think more so for us than anyone else because, we expect a lot from our receivers to be part of the run game, the blocking scheme, And then the routes are indicative that everyone's doing their job and that you're going to get someone else open at times. And where other systems, it's pretty much, hey, you're getting the ball here, you're getting the ball the next play. And so it's a little easier. I'm going to run my route, get myself open, and get the ball. Well, that's not the case with us. You're going to run your route, and we're going to isolate a defender, and the quarterback is going to decide who. So you have to do it within a system and be willing to do that. And it's a hard transition for a lot of guys.
Talking to Storm head coach Kurtiss Riggs on the Kurtiss Riggs Show. Here's our next highlight.
It is 4th down. 4th down and goal from the 4-yard line. Short slot to the right side. Rouse in motion. Here's the blitz. Pass tipped up in the air. Knocked down. And it's going to be a 4th down stand by the Sioux Falls Storm. Holy help me, Hannah. What a big play.
Yeah, your defense really at times rose to the occasion in the course of that contest, didn't they?
They did, and I thought at times early in the game too, it was 3rd and 18 or 4th and 18. We gave up a long run by the quarterback, and then we stopped him again when it was long, and we had the foolish penalty that gave him a 1st down. But the defense kept plugging away, and that's what you like to see. They just they didn't have to wait. They didn't let Iowa make plays. They continued to be the aggressor. And I thought the red zone defense was a lot better than the last time we played them in Iowa.
I thought that when you talk about being aggressive, I saw a lot more of that in your ball club last Saturday night.
Yeah, it seemed like the guys were flying around. It seemed like we were getting far better pressure on the quarterback, especially with the D-line. They really had, there was plays where I saw all 3 D linemen right at the quarterback as he was throwing it, and that's what you want to see consistently, just outworking your man, getting in the quarterback space, disrupting, not necessarily getting the sack, but you're being involved in the play.
And they had an offensive line that was huge. They had one guy 6'9", 340 pounds.
Yeah, he was a big fella. I don't know how good he was, but he definitely looks the part. But I think we got after him throughout the game.
Of course, like we've always said with Mania Smith, if you run around him, it's going to be the next play to line up for. But by the time you get around to the backside of him,
yeah. And I don't think there's many linemen in the league, though, that we can compare to Mania. Maybe in statute, but not in actually skill level.
No, that's for sure. Here's our next highlight.
And now the Sioux Falls Storm have a 1st down and goal from the 7-yard line. Working from the left side hash, Storm in their red uniforms against the white and black of the Barnstormers. 5:29 to play, 3rd quarter. Lorenzo Brown gives the handle, goes to Corey Williams at the 10, makes a move at the 5, into the end zone, touchdown. He absolutely stopped and slanted back the other direction into the end zone. Touchdown, Corey Williams. How did he do that?
That's the thing about Corey Williams. He is just so much fun to watch because his body just goes in different directions, and a defender cannot get square enough and keep his feet moving fast enough to be able to keep up with him.
Yeah, I know exactly the play you're talking about. It was right in front of me, and as he was stopping, I was like, "What are you doing? Keep going!" And then everyone just went right by him, and he pretty much walked in. I thought, if I stopped, all the defensive guys would be hitting me. And there's very few people that can do what Corey does and do it with such ease. He makes it look so effortless.
Oh my, yes. During the course of the broadcast, I had Mark Blackburn with me as one of the past Storm players, which I've done the last couple of years, and he was just fantastic on the air. And he's also up for the Hall of Fame. And go to the IFL website, and you can actually cast your vote. It doesn't have a per value for the full who gets selected, but it'll sure show the people within the organization what he's thought of. So go and do that. Because Mark Blackburn, what a tremendous player he was with the Sioux Falls Storm for so many years. And here's kind of a long highlight, but Mark puts his part into it, and we talk about some old times. Here's Mark Blackburn and myself.
One of the points of emphasis this year, Mark, that we have heard is that open field crack blocks have been outlawed to protect the players from having concussion-type injuries.
Okay.
This they actually called a block in the back, but if you have a defenseless player get hit And that's actually a penalty.
Okay.
Now, you would have been penalized down in Wyoming on that hit that you had to that guy.
Yeah, well, it's funny how time flies.
But, folks, that was the greatest block I'd ever seen in my life. He put a guy absolutely horizontal 6 feet off the ground. It was unbelievable.
Man.
The block, the hit of the year.
You know, Rich, I still have that picture. I'm going to
you
bring it in next time.
Oh, I hope you do.
It was amazing. I felt bad. The guy was crying after.
I shouldn't be laughing, but
I know, but no,
it was awesome. It was unbelievable hit. We remembered this for how many years now? It's been 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, Mark Blackburn, what a great time I had visiting with him, and what a great player he was. And that block still stands out as the worst hit or best hit, however you want to describe it.
Yeah, you know what's funny is as he's talking about that guy crying, it was Mark made a lot of guys cry. You know, and sometimes he didn't even hit them, and he had them crying. I mean, he was just such an intimidating force, and just one of the purest, best leaders.
Oh my!
You know, I've always said Terrence Bryant and Mark Blackburn were the two greatest captains. You know, and I just think it's ridiculous that Mark's not in there yet. It's part of being the Storm. I mean, we have so many great players. You know, as the commissioner asked me to send in a list of nominees, and of course, you know, I had Fred Jackson on there. I think it's so embarrassing that our league touts. If you look, they showcase Fred Jackson as someone that moved up to the NFL, but we do not consider him for the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I just think that's embarrassing. And then next was Mark Blackburn. I mean, he is the greatest all-around defensive player that I have, and you and I have been a part of this for the whole time, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I just, the leader, I mean, just so many attributes that he brought. And then, you know, Nate Floyd, Shannon Poppinga, Rockman Crable, I mean, it goes on, and a lot of these guys aren't going to make it for a long time because they're part of the Storm. But then I went back and started to think about, there's a lot of really good players we went against, too, that so many of the people that are doing the nominations don't know about.
Oh, that's right.
And so we're nominating people that are just barely getting done. Well, then you look at, well, when is Corey Johnson and James Terry then eligible? And I don't know. I think the Hall of Fame committee, and I think someone like yourself who's on it, they should have you guys that create a standard now, that creates a standard. And people like Mark Blackburn would exemplify everything that anyone could think of to get into that Hall of Fame. So hopefully we see him in there this year. He's very deserving of it. He's just a great person and was an unbelievable football player.
Here's our last highlight.
And now is second down and 15 for the Barnstormers, trailing the Storm by a bunch. Here's a pass upfield, intercepted by Tyler Knight as he just picked off his third interception of the year.
And your defense, one of the things I talked about was a key. One of the things you talked about was a key, was not turning the ball over, and also your defense creating turnovers and holding a team on downs or getting an interception. That just gives your offense more opportunities to score, and having Tyler pick off that pass and the Storm capitalized on it with a touchdown, that's the difference in any ball game.
It is, by far. You know, the second half, I think there was one series where we went 3-and-out, we had to kick it, and Justin was supposed to kick it out of bounds. He didn't get it out of bounds, but the defense came out and got a stop. And, you know, when you have that behind you, it really helps on both sides of the ball with your play calling, offensively and defensively. And Tyler Knight has had a really, really incredible season because, you know, anyone that knows Tyler, they know that he's not quite the same Tyler Knight as, you know, when he was Defensive Player of the Year physically. But where he has gotten so much better is he is such a good student of the game. He really mentally prepares himself, and he's done such a good job with that's helped make up for maybe that one step slower that you see out there, because he's always in good position, always leads the team in tackles, and is coming up with big plays when we need them.
He is also the leader as far as tackles are concerned in the IFL, all defenses. and I think he has 130, something like that, tackles. The next highest number is 93.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Coach, any other final comments about the decisive win that you had over Iowa last Saturday?
Well, I think more importantly, it was going undefeated at home, you know, and that's what you and I have always talked about. I mean, you want to win them all at home, defending your home turf, and then if you can go out and win at least half the games or more on the road, you're going to put yourself in a really good position. And the guys have done that. I mean, we're 14-1, and there's many times you and I have talked, and it's probably sounded like we're 2-12 or something like that.
Yeah.
But you got to really tip your hat to these guys. They've done a great job putting themselves in really a good position. They had to work really hard for it, but they've really had a great season. We got one more week left here.
Storm won their 60th home game in a row. The 60th home game in a row goes all the way back to 2010 when they lost to the Omaha Beef, 43-37. That was back on May 15th of 2010. Well, Coach, when we come back later on, we'll have an update or a scouting report about the Spokane Empire.
All right, I look forward to that, Rich.
Very good, Coach. And you're listening to this segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge, the official viewing party hosts. And the next viewing party game is coming up on Saturday, the 18th, when the Storm travels out to Spokane. And you can go out there and watch the game for free. And also have lots of great specials for you out there at Eastway Bowl. When we come back, we'll be talking to a new member of the Sioux Falls Storm receiving corps, Marcus Bierham. You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
Success doesn't fit in a 9-to-5 day.
What's the smart way to refresh your home? Get inspired by Granite Transformations. See how easy it is to transform your kitchen or bathroom with gorgeous quartz and granite backed by our lifetime warranty. Plus custom cabinet refacing, all without the mess of a traditional renovation. Explore the exciting possibilities at the New Look, New Style celebration happening now at Granite Transformations. Schedule your free in-home design consultation today.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. I'm so glad that you made us a part of your day today. This segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. Great wings, just absolutely great wings on Minnesota Avenue, just south of Walgreens at 26th Street. And after we have the interview with Marcus Bierham, we'll be taking your third call, at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the Storm's next home game. That's going to be on Saturday, July 16th, as the Storm will host the United Conference Championship game. And joining us via the fan line, new receiver with the Sioux Falls Storm, Marcus Bierham. Marcus, thanks for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up and where did you go to college?
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. Coming out of high school, I went to Bowling Green State University and then transferred and finished my 4 years at Tiffin University.
Well, you had quite a career at Tiffin. Tell us about that.
Ended up becoming an all-time receptions leader in school history, 3-time GLIAC honorable mention, and was a part of some really good teams, despite what the record showed. But I enjoyed my time at Tiffin.
For the folks around here that maybe aren't familiar where Tiffin is, tell us where that university is located.
It's in Tiffin, Ohio, which is like 45 minutes south of Toledo, also near Cleveland and Akron.
So what conference do they play in?
They're in Division II in the GLIAC, one of the best Division II conferences in the country.
Well, the thing about it is, you played at a Division II school, but you really turned some heads as far as your career there. You said you were the all-time yardage receiver in Tiffin history, and then you wound up signing as an undrafted free agent. Tell us about that and with which team?
Well, yeah, I was just got invited to the Detroit Lions mini rookie camp. Unfortunately, did not make that roster, but it was a good experience for me.
Tell us about what that's like. You grew up in Ohio, and you grew up and went to university there, but going to Detroit to the Lions. What was that like for the first time that you put on a Lions helmet at practice?
It was kind of surreal at first, because, growing up in Detroit, it was kind of crazy to have the opportunity to play for your hometown team. But I was real happy and honored, to wear those colors.
Now, but at the same time, you give your full effort, and it just isn't quite good enough because you find out that there are so many other people that are applying for that same job, aren't there?
Well, it's a tough business, and you gotta be almost perfect, to be able to last long in the NFL or even to get a shot. So, this opportunity alone was a blessing, and hopefully I can get back to that point.
Well, you've made some real strides here with the Sioux Falls Storm in only 3 games that you've played with the Storm. But tell us, how did you wind up getting to this part of the country and join the Sioux Falls Storm?
I had a friend of the family who was really working for me and came across the Sioux Falls Storm out here and sent my film out, and Tyler, the GM, really liked what he saw. And then I also had another college teammate, Kyle Bryan, who played down here, who I knew him as well. And once I found out they were interested in me, they were also interested in a college teammate of mine, Carlton Watkins, the corner. So one day, me and him just drove down here in the middle of the night and was ready to play some football.
So you guys just got in your car and took off for South Dakota?
Yeah, because I know with me being in Michigan, him in Ohio, he stays I probably want to say 2 hours from me. So I picked him up, and then we got on the road, drove almost 15 hours.
Did you, and I asked this question of a lot of players, did you even know where Sioux Falls, South Dakota was?
Not at all, sir.
And that's the same answer that we get a lot of times, Marcus. We're talking to Marcus Biram with the Sioux Falls Storm, new wide receiver. And, but the tough thing is you get into the Sioux Falls Storm, and there's a lot of competition here also, wasn't there?
Exactly, yeah. Because, I kind of figured that with the team being so good and so dominant that, there definitely weren't going to be a lot of playmakers here. So, but I love it here. Sioux Falls is a nice town, and the guys on the team are real cool, so it's a nice organization here.
Now, in 3 games, you've had 5 receptions for 98 yards, averaging almost 20 yards a catch, and you have 3 touchdowns. And this is another question I asked a lot of the players. What was it like for you the first time you played inside between the walls?
It was interesting at first. The game was a lot more faster than I thought. But, after the first couple of plays, you get those nerves out, and it becomes football again. So, but it's pretty fun.
Last Saturday night they had the ring ceremony, courtesy of Riddle's Jewelry, and you got to see those championship rings, and I think that probably made you feel pretty good about working hard to make this team, because to be a part of it is something very special, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely was inspiring to me, and I know, like I said, my teammate Carlton was next to me, and we was definitely saying how we gotta, be next to get our rings, and that was definitely a special moment. And proud of the guys that got there, so they earned it. And
they were pretty sweet rings too, weren't they?
Yes, sir.
Well, Marcus, it's great having you a part of the Sioux Falls Storm, and I appreciate you being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show, and look forward to seeing a lot more things from you. We played one of your highlights from one of your touchdowns this earlier in the broadcast, and folks, if you want to go back and listen to it, they'll be eventually archived in the Sioux Falls Storm website under Stormcast, and you can go back and listen to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. But we had one of your highlights, Marcus, and you're fun to watch, and we appreciate everything that you bring to the Sioux Falls Storm.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Marcus Biram for the Sioux Falls Storm. And when we go to break, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230, 336-1230. for 4 free tickets to the game coming up on Saturday, July 16th. That is the United Conference Championship game, and that's going to be a dandy. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be back, and we'll be talking to Corey Johnson, former player, now a coach with the Sioux Falls Storm. And you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
Coast to Coast Sioux.
Your body, a remarkable network of bone, tissue, and joints working in perfect harmony. But when injuries occur, that process can be interrupted. At Orthopedic Institute, orthopedic medicine is all we do. We work to get you up and moving again, recreating that perfect harmony, whatever that may be for you. Orthopedic Institute, we're the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
Listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roski.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Good Sense. No, check that. It's brought to you by Wingstop. And then after we go to break, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230. 336-1230. 4 free tickets for the United Conference Championship game on July 16th. He was a Sioux Falls Storm player for 10 years, and now he is a coach with the Sioux Falls Storm. Corey Johnson, how are you, my friend?
I am doing excellent. How are you doing, Rich?
You know, when I talk about players, you had an amazing career with the Sioux Falls Storm, wound up having the most tackles for loss, the third most tackles for loss, and the first most sacks, 64 and a half. You had an amazing ride with the Sioux Falls Storm. Tell us about it.
You know, it was just a great opportunity. I was lucky. I fell into a situation where, you know, they had just won a championship and didn't have a nose tackle, and Colin Steen had called me, said, "Hey, would you like to come play football?" And I believe there's a relationship with Scott Underwood, who was my D coordinator at St. Cloud. He coached Riggs at USF, and so there was somewhat of a relationship there, and it was an opportunity for me to keep playing football. And I had gotten hurt my senior year, and so I came, and yeah, I mean, just an unbelievable ride. I had great coaches. It was a great front office. Everything about it has just been phenomenal, and that speaks to the success. I mean, I think in my career we won 8 championships, and I spoke to the guys about big games. You know, in my career, I'm 150 and 16, and I know that's that because I can remember every one of those 16 losses, and nothing is worse than losing. So, but yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. I got lucky to be a part of it, and you know, Kurtiss let me be a part of it from the other side now, and it's been awesome.
You know, the thing about it is, what people don't realize, that there was a point in time during that 10 years that you were on the field, there was a time that you didn't know if you were going to be coming back or if you would be wanted to come back.
Yeah, you know, it definitely, you know, there was a couple of years there where I was really immature. You know, and I see it now from a coaching standpoint because we deal with it, and I see the immaturity of guys now, and I'm just like I'm trying to say and talk to them like I'm wise, you know, and I'm 33 years old, but you know, I've been down that path. Luckily, Kurtiss saw something in me. I don't know exactly what it was, but he held on, and he kind of, you know, a couple times had to give me a good lecture about life, and yeah, it's just, you know, it took him showing how much he believed in me as a human being to finally for me to grow up. And you know, I met my wife, and that definitely helped change things. I grew up pretty quick with that, and yeah, you know, I made some bad decisions, but Kurtiss made a good decision and kept me around as long as he could without me causing too much harm to the team or to anyone, and it worked out.
Plus, he saw something because you became better at your craft as you got older, and you became an amazing bull rusher. You know, you took a long time to get all those sacks because that wasn't your job. Your job was to take that center and just push him back into the quarterback, and you did that like no one else within the Indoor Football League.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of the game, and I try to stress it now with our noses now, Sam Campbell and Brian Keys. If you can collapse the pocket and let these fast guys get around the corner, you're going to force quarterbacks to step right into you, and you just got to come off and make a play. And it's slowly. You can see with Keys, he's really understanding it. Sam, Sam is our bull rusher. When I say move that person backwards, I mean that's what he does. And sometimes our DMs get too upfield, but it's been a learning curve being a coach and trying to get people to buy into what you're trying to teach them, because I have the experience and I know what to do, but I'm not in their helmet, and I don't have an earpiece in their helmet saying, well, in this play, do this, so it's a work in progress. We'll say that.
Talking with Corey Johnson, former player with the Sioux Falls Storm, now a coach with the Sioux Falls Storm. How many times during the course of a game do you flinch thinking it's time for you to run onto the field?
I haven't had any of those moments. I've had those moments, especially over the last 4 or 5 weeks with us being, with Brian being banged up, where I was just like, I play right now. I'm in pretty good shape. I've been working out. I work out now just to lose weight because I want to live for a long time. But I've had those moments where I'm like, man, I know what's going on here. I would like to be on the field, but at the same time, I love waking up on Sunday mornings and not being okay. So
that's great. Yeah.
It's been I haven't had the urge until as of lately, but even that urge now, with the production that our D line did this last Saturday, I was just like, okay, I don't need to be on the field. We're good. These 3 guys turned it up, and they made a statement this last Saturday, so that was nice.
Well, I tell you what, Corey, it was great to follow your career, and I'll follow your second career as a coach. But you are a great friend also, and a great guy, and a great dad. And all of those things put together, that's Corey Johnson. And we appreciate you being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show and all that you've done for the Sioux Falls Storm.
Perfect, Rick. Anytime you want me to be on, I have no problem being on. You've been a great friend, and tell my other mom I said hi.
I certainly will. Corey Johnson, former nose guard with the Sioux Falls Storm, now a defensive line coach with the Storm. And when we go to break, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230, 336-1230, 4 free tickets, courtesy of Wingstop in Sioux Falls. It's more than a meal. It's a flavor experience. We'll be back right after this.
Moms, dads, listen carefully. Thanks to the Storm's all-new Champion.
People that I work with are family. We get more time with the patients to deliver that personalized care.
I know that our patients are satisfied and happy with their outcomes.
And I've had more than one patient say to me, I can really feel that you guys like being here and taking care of patients. And that's wonderful to hear, because that's the truth.
We give the best care in the world.
And just a better overall experience for the patient.
And that's why I chose to come work here at Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital.
You're listening to The Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roski.
And welcome back to The Kurtiss Riggs Show. This is our final segment. Coming up after we go off the air, we'll go back to programming for just a few minutes, and then J.J. Hardigan will have Canaries baseball as the Canaries taking on Gary tonight, and good friend J.J. Hardigan will have the call for you right here on KWSN. But again, it's been a great show today. I've been enjoyed talking to Coach Riggs about his thoughts, his blog about parenting and coaching and all of those different types of things, and also talking to a couple of the Storm members of the team, player Marcus Biram and also Corey Johnson. I want to thank them for being on the show today. When we go off the air, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230, 336-1230 for Wingstop ticket giveaway. It's more than a meal. It's a flavor experience, but we'll take the third caller for 4 free tickets, and that's going to be for the United Conference Championship game on July 16th. I want to thank our sponsors for making this broadcast possible. All of them, but our lead sponsors are Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Again, this week, the Storm is going to be going out to Spokane, Washington to take on the Empire. 9:05 kickoff on Saturday, and you can hear the broadcast starting with our pregame show at 8:45 on our sister station, Kello News Talk, AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Want to thank John Michaels, our KWSN studio producer and engineer, and along with you, our listening audience, for joining us today for the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And you've been listening to it right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Good night, everybody.
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today. Save on your energy bill with a new furnace from Waterbury. Call for your free estimates.
Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full experience entertainment center. Like us on Facebook and visit our website to learn more about the full experience at Eastway Bowl.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roski.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by our great friends, the Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, just north of Vera McKinnon Hospital on Cliff Avenue, and they have the best bread in town. Also, freshness. Everything about what they put out there is fresh. It is fantastic. Just check it out. That's Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Tim, not Tom, will take very good care of you. And coming up this Saturday, the Sioux Falls Storm will be traveling out to Spokane, Washington to take on the Spokane Empire. Spokane is 12-2 on the year. They have just had two losses. They lost early in the year to the Billings Wolves, 30-22, and then the Sioux Falls Storm defeated them on May 14th by a score of 63-50 in that contest, and that was here at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. And joining us via the fan line, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. And, Coach, tell us about this Spokane Empire that's leading the intense conference.
Well, a talented team, very athletic. I think, defensively, they really have some athleticism, either their D-line or their, I would consider they have two linebackers with their strong safety and middle linebackers. They're both really linebackers. And then some very athletic defensive backs behind them. And then offensively, I think they have a good offensive line. I think their quarterbacks played very well this year. And then Carl Sims has really been their main guy on the outside for their receiving corps.
They lost their running back. Actually, wide receiver Trevor Kennedy had 29 touchdowns in the season before he went down to an injury a couple weeks ago. He had scored 236 points for the Empire this year. How does a team replace someone of that caliber this late in the season?
Well, the dilemma they really have is they don't have another running back until I think it's Pierce, who was with Shaq last year in Tri-Cities, until he gets released off the refuse to report list, unless they bring someone else in. And he would have to sit 3 games. So the Nebraska game's his first game, will be his second game, and then I think they play Billings the last regular season week. So they would have him for the playoffs. And having a running back is essential, especially for their offense. But Kennedy was so versatile. He's a lot like a Corey Williams, where he can play outside, inside. He has very good hands. He can do the fly sweep game. He's really multi-dimensional, and that is what's really hard to replace. And so it changes your scheme, and you could see that against Nebraska, that it changed a lot of the things they did, because the kid that was playing running back, Josh Ferguson, was not a Kennedy, and nor should they try to make him one, because he's not going to be able to do those things.
No, Josh Ferguson, ordinarily a defensive back, 5'8", 185, and Kennedy was 6 foot 205, and just in the physical differences, much less the fact he's transferring over from defense over to running back. But he did get one rushing touchdown. He had 15 carries for a total gain of 15 yards, so that, it was minimal at best. But like you said, you got a receiver like Carl Sims. He used to play for the Storm. Well, he's used to play for about everybody, and he has 19 receiving touchdowns, and he is a force, and he is tremendously fast.
He is very, very fast, and he's very good at running his routes. He knows his strengths. They do a good job calling plays that fit his strengths. And he's not only fast, he's very explosive, meaning he can go from 0 to full speed very fast. And he's not very quick. He's not going to make people miss in space, but he's going to run by a lot of people. And that's how he does it on his routes too. And then he's got good ball skills. He'll go up and get it. He made some really tough catches against us, where he got knocked over the wall and still came up with the ball or out-jumped our guys. And so hopefully we can shut Carl down. Hopefully, we can make them have to earn things. They love to get a big play, especially with him. And we'll see if we can go in there. And I'm excited about being able to finish our last game in a very tough environment. I think it's a good test for us as we go on our little, our month-long hiatus and then get ready for playoffs.
Coach, this is a game pitting the two leading teams in the IFL, the two with the best records. They're both leading their respective conferences. What's it going to take for the Storm to go on the road, long road trip, to get out there and be able to overcome the environment and be able to overcome the travel, overcome the talent that they have out there, so the Storm can get that win out in Spokane this weekend?
Well, the only thing we're worried about, Rich, is just getting better, and then also getting some people some reps that haven't had some. I mean, we're going to play some guys that, we need to know they can be there for us in playoff time and crunch time. And this is a good chance, now that we've secured everything, that we can go in and evaluate these guys and do it in a fashion where we feel like we're going to win this game too. I mean, we told the guys, we step on the field for one reason, that's to win. So that's our purpose. The thing that excites me the most is the environment, coming out there to see how we react to it, how we handle that. And then, like any game, we just have to take away their big plays and take care of the ball. I don't want Lorenzo having to run all over the place. I don't want him having to, have to create and buy time. We want to make sure we're taking care of the ball and moving the sticks.
Well, Coach, best to you. We'll talk to you out in Spokane.
All right, thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. And when we come back, we'll wrap up the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this segment's been brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Best bread in town. Back right after this.
Do you know what insurance agency is number one?
When you think rugged. When you think tough. When you think big. Think of the best transportation solutions, mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer Trucks. Redefining the road.